Hello, my name is Ruben McWilliams, and today I'm going to be talking to you about TextBlob and showing you how you can use TextBlob to do your own projects. So first I'm going to be talking about how to install TextBlob, and it's pretty easy as you can see. It's just a pip installation and one extra command, and you'll see me do this in the demo at the end, but this is how you do it. So TextBlob has many different features, and I'm going to kind of give you a taste of each one of them in this video. But we have noun phrase extraction, we have part of speech tagging, we have sentiment analysis, we have classification, tokenization, word and phrase frequencies, parsing, n-grams, word inflection, and lemmatization, spelling correction. We can add new models or languages through extensions, as well as WordNet integration. So the first thing I want to talk about is noun phrase extraction. And I got this example from this research paper here if you want to check that out. But here you can see that we import TextBlob. We create a sentence that we want to analyze. And then we create a TextBlob object using that string. And then we call TextBlob object.noun phrases to get the noun phrases of that TextBlob. And then we just loop through them and print them out. And so the output of that is what you see here. So you see that it outputted computer science, artificial intelligence, AI, and machine intelligence. So you can see that it was successfully able to extract the noun phrases from that sentence that we provided it. Next, I want to talk about part of speech tagging. And again, this example is from a research paper. If you want to go to that link and kind of see TextBlob being used more in context, you can do that. But you see here, we import TextBlob, we create a TextBlob object, and then we call sentence, we say sentence.tags, and that will give us the part of speech tag for every single word in our sentence. The next thing is a really cool feature that I'm going to be using in my project. It's sentiment analysis, and basically what you do is you import NLTK. Again, this is from a research paper, this one here, and you say from TextBlob, import TextBlob. We create a TextBlob object with some text, and then we call it text1.sentiment. And I have a few examples, and we'll kind of walk you through it. So here we say, I love this product. That is our sentence, right? And then we say text1.sentiment. And that will give us two things. It'll give us polarity as well as subjectivity. Polarity takes on values between -1 and +1. And in this range, 0 indicates neutral, -1 indicates highly negative, and +1 indicates highly positive. And so on the other hand, there's subjectivity, right? The second one is subjectivity, and that takes on a value between 0 and 1. 0 in this range indicates that a statement is highly objective, and +1 indicates highly subjective. So an objective statement wouldn't be based on opinions or feelings, but a subjective statement would be. And so for this particular example, we see that the polarity score is 0.5 and the subjectivity score is 0.6. So since polarity is 0.5 and the range is -1 to +1, it's obvious that 0.5 leans a little bit more towards being a positive statement. So we say that this statement is positive. And the subjectivity score is 0.6, which leans slightly more towards being subjective because the range is 0 to 1, right? So we say it's slightly subjective. Here is another example. So we say, and this is supposed to be text 1, but so we have amazing product for less cost, right? And we say text1.sentiment, and that gives us, again, polarity and subjectivity. The polarity score is 0.15, and the subjectivity score is 0.65. So since polarity is 0.15, it clearly states that the statement is positive, because the range is -1 to +1, and 0.15 leans a bit more towards being positive. And the subjectivity score is 0.65, which leans more towards being subjective. So next I'll be talking about classification, and this is from the official TextBlob documentation, which you can check out at this link if you'd like. So you can do many things with classification in TextBlob, but for my example, I'm going to be creating a naive Bayes classifier. So there's a couple ways you can do this. So you can pass in a list of tuples where each tuple is organized so that the left side of the tuple is the sentence and the right side of the tuple is the label. And you can pass that list of tuples into this classifier like this. That's one way to do it. The other way is to create a JSON file, so you can call it like train.json, for example, and format it like this, okay? And then you can pass it in, you can pass the open file into the constructor like so. And then after you do that, you can call the classify text method to use the classifier. So you can classify this sentence here and get the label positive. Next, again from a research paper, we have an example of tokenization in TextBlob. So this paper focused on detecting suicidal ideations in text. So that's why you can see this, like, I don't want to live anymore, I want to die. So there's two ways you can tokenize in TextBlob. You can do it so that you can tokenize words and get all of the words in the sentence. You do that by creating a TextBlob object and then saying t.words, and that will give you all of the words in the sentence or the phrase that you provided. Another way you can do tokenization is by tokenizing by sentences. So let's say you have a big paragraph and you want to get each sentence in that paragraph. You can do t.sentences, and that will break it up by sentences. Now for word and phrase frequencies. So there's two ways to get the frequency of a word or noun phrase using TextBlob, okay? So the first is through the word counts dictionary, and the other is by using the words.count function. So you can see here we use the word counts dictionary in order to get the count of the word want in this sentence here. We can see that it pops up twice here, so we get 2 as our response. And you can achieve the same thing, like it said, with the words.count function. Next, I'll be discussing parsing. So in TextBlob, you can call after creating a TextBlob object like so, you can call the parse method, which will parse the text and give you a bunch of useful information like part of speech for the words. It'll give you whether it's part of a prepositional noun phrase and a bunch of other details here. So now, if we want to extract n-grams, we can also do that very easily with TextBlob. So in this example here, we create a TextBlob object like I don't want to live anymore. And then we say b.n-grams, n equals 3. And since n equals 3, what we're getting are trigrams. So we end up getting all of the trigrams inside of this text here. So we get I don't want to, want to live, all of the trigrams. Next, another cool thing you can do with TextBlob is you can do word inflection and lemmatization. So if you have a TextBlob object like use 4 spaces per indentation level, and we say sentence.words, we get all of the words in the sentence, right? We know that. So each word in this word list is each word is a word object, and each one of these word objects has a singularized method and a pluralized method. So what we can do is we can get a particular word. In this case, we're getting sentence.words2, so we end up getting spaces, and we're singularizing it. So we're getting space, right? Because spaces singularized is space. And then we can do sentence.words -1, which will get the last word here, which is level, and pluralize it. So we get levels. Words can be lemmatized by calling the lemmatize method. So we create a word object, we lemmatize it. So in this case, we have octopi, and then we lemmatize it in order to get the dictionary form of the word, which is octopus. And we can do the same thing with the word went and lemmatize that. And here you can see we're passing in a part of speech in order for a disambiguation, and then we get the dictionary form go. Another thing you can do is spelling correction. So we can use the correct method to attempt spelling correction. So we create a TextBlob object with some with a phrase that is misspelled, and then we call b.correct, and this will attempt to correct your spelling. Words also have a spell check method, which will return a list of spelling corrections as well as its confidence in those spelling corrections. You can also add new models or languages through extensions, and you can do that by saying pip install TextBlob name, where name is the name of the package you want. So here, just some examples here. You have a couple language extensions you could add if you want to work in French or German. And here's a link if you want to go there. And you can also get a part of speech tagger extension if you'd like. Next, we're talking about WordNet integration. So you can access the synsets for a word via the synsets property or the getSynsets method, optionally passing in a part of speech, right? So we have a word object like octopus, and we say word.synsets, we get its synsets. We can also call, as an alternative, we can call getSynsets on a word to also get its synsets, but that has the advantage of allowing us to pass in the part of speech for disambiguation. And you can access the definitions for each synset via the definitions property, or you can also call it a define method, which will achieve the same thing, but again, that allows you to pass in the optional part of speech argument for disambiguation purposes. So I just wanted to give you a couple examples and resources you can check out to see TextBlob being applied and used by researchers in their papers. So a researcher uses TextBlob in their research paper related to analyzing the suicidal tendencies in blogs and tweets using sentiment analysis. She uses TextBlob to perform n-grams analysis, tokenization analysis, word frequency analysis, and polarity and subjectivity analysis. And you can check out the paper here if you'd like. Another example is researchers use TextBlob to determine people's sentiment towards coronavirus on Twitter. And here's a link for that, if you want to check that out. So TextBlob is a very powerful library that provides researchers with a plethora of easy-to-use tools. From this resource discussion, it has become apparent to me that TextBlob has been well adopted by the research community. And now I'll give a small demo on using TextBlob, so you can see a hands-on demonstration. And I'll just be doing one of the examples we saw earlier. So what we do is we say, well, let's start with the installation. So I already installed it, so I'm not actually going to run this, but you would type pip install u TextBlob, and that would allow you to install TextBlob. And then again, you would type python m TextBlob download corpora. Okay? And after you do that, let's make sure that it's working for you. So I'm going to do a quick example. So say from TextBlob, import TextBlob. Okay? And now we create a string. So we say document equals in computer science. This is just from an example we saw earlier from artificial intelligence, AI, sometimes called machine intelligence. And then we have TextBlob object equals TextBlob, pass in the document. And then for noun phrase, in TextBlob object dot noun phrases, print noun phrase. And you can see we get the output we saw earlier. So it extracted the noun phrases. So just to go over this code really quick, so we import TextBlob, we create a string, we pass that string into TextBlob to create a TextBlob object, and then we say TextBlob object.noun phrases to get all of the noun phrases inside of that TextBlob, and we loop through those noun phrases and print them out. So there you go. There's an example of how to use TextBlob. I hope you learned from this. Thank you.